is for you. This is for you. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Yeah. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Yeah, this for my dogs from the east to the west side. You rockin' brown and orange with me, baby. Let's ride. Represent the land, let them know. Tell them, here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Yeah, here we go.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. The Browns come away with a win. I'm Allie Heisong, coming to you live from Steeds Ferry, North Carolina, and joined with me, as always, out in beautiful Boise, Idaho, we've got Dustin. Dustin, your Cleveland Browns get their first shutout since when?
2007. It's
a long time ago.
Allie, it was against, and just for you history buffs out there, the last time the Browns had a shutout was against the Buffalo Bills. Is the last time that did happen, and that was in the year 2007. Someone let me know, but I think we only allowed 58 yards today of total offense of the Arizona Cardinals today. I saw a lot of good things today. I'm not going to lie. Now against not a very good opponent with a quarterback that hasn't played ever in the National Football League, coming into a tough environment after a Browns defense that had a chip on the shoulder. Not probably the best environment, but still, just by the pure point that we made, it is tough to shut out any team in the National Football League. They're all professionals at the end of the day. So the fact that the Browns were able to do this here or anywhere is quite a feat, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely. The Browns come away 27-0 on the day. Now, look, it wasn't particularly pretty. I don't think offensively, especially, there was some things that you're like, okay, well, this is easy to watch because we're winning. If the Browns had been on the losing end of this, we'd be having a really difficult podcast. But nonetheless, the Browns come away with a win. That's great. We love to talk about it. But how about your Cleveland Browns defense? Dustin, I think that this is one of the best performances that we have seen from the Browns defense. I just want to talk about this. They had 7 sacks on the day, 10 tackles for loss, 8 pass deflections, 10 quarterback hits, 2 interceptions, and 1 fumble. That's insane.
Yeah, and if you think about it, they pretty much dominated the game from the snap till the end of the game. They were a very inspired group today. And I will say this, they just didn't – I think they just had a mission today that they weren't going to allow the Cardinals to be a part of this game at all and not even have a factor in this game. And I was like, well, if the Browns score a field goal at one point in this game, I'm like, we're still going to win the game. I felt like, just because this game was so dominant on that side of the field from our defense. Now, I will say, I think the offense played better than I've seen in a while. And I guess where I'm kind of going with this, yeah, clearly Deshaun's had a couple weeks off, right? Obviously, we saw that a little bit of rust, but man, he had some beautiful throws to Amari Cooper in this football game for 50 plus yards on the money. And I want to see more of that, right? That's the Sean that we paid all that money to be able to get guys like that down the field open. And, he scrambled when he needed to, when the offensive line was a little shaky at times, because they were bringing the pressure. I liked that. I think he'll continue to improve. I saw him get more and more confident as the game went on, but I think the offense really didn't have to show a lot today. They ran the ball quite a bit. I am starting to think that the Browns have a secret weapon here with a 3-headed monster at running back, with the likes of Ford, Strong, and Hunt. This could be a really dangerous group of guys, kind of with a different look, and just rotating those guys in with fresh legs. It just seems like we were able to kind of do what we wanted in the run game today as well.
Actually, I don't agree with that. I think that with the run game, yes. And I want to be clear. I want to enjoy this win. That's what this post-game show is for. We're celebrating. It's Victory Monday tomorrow. We've got a lot of really good things to talk about. But, we don't do this show to be, just sugarcoat everything. I thought that the quarterback play was actually quite poor. And I think that we are well beyond the point of calling it rust. I think it's unfair to call it that. He's had plenty of time to get it figured out. However, he's coming off of an injury, so I want to be patient with him. But there is something not right. with the throwing mechanics. Something is off. And I agree with you in the sense that, we hope to continue to see him improve. But at the end of the day, it didn't look quite right. I think they got lucky in some of the sense that you're going up against, sorry guys, you're going up against a poor opponent with the Arizona Cardinals.
Sure.
Thankfully, you get garbage time in this game. And I think that that's what Deshaun Watson really needed. He needs reps. He can't get better without reps. And unfortunately, with his health and everything that's gone on this season, he hasn't been able to get real game time reps in a big way. So having garbage moments to kind of be able to build his confidence back up is really important and very valuable going into this next week. But just taking a look at it here, Deshaun was 19 of 30 for 219 and 2 touchdowns on the day. He was sacked, average rating of 107.5. So the numbers read well, but I mean, if you watch the game, I don't think anybody's going to sit here and say that Deshaun Watson looked great. He didn't. And even in the run game, I think that you've got something in Kareem Hunt. You know who he is. You know what he does well. Browns, the offense is kind of leaning into that. But ultimately, I wasn't too impressed with some of the execution on the offensive side of the ball today. But again, it's a lot easier to say that with a win because things are easier to correct when you come away with a win. A lot easier to podcast about it when you come away with a win. But
yeah.
A little bit of luck with some of the scoring today. I think that there's some things that you want to see get improved, but much, much easier to do that coming off of a win.
Yeah, and I would say, I don't know, anytime a quarterback gets over 100 in the quarterback, rating, I feel good about that. That means he had an efficient football game. I think he had 123 against Tennessee. Those are two of the games that I look at during this season where he had really good games. And then he had really, kind of poor games against Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, right? Those were his two. So you can kind of go, he's 2 for 2 in that sense, right? He had 2 good games, 2 bad games this year. And I would kind of just throw the Colts game out. Clearly he was hurt and was not even up to par in that Colts game.
Sure.
And that's why he played 4 snaps. But I don't know. I just think I'm going to pause the brakes because I want to see a full season from Deshaun Watson, and I haven't seen that yet, right? I'll grade him at the end of the year after he's went to Baltimore, played the Ravens, right? He hasn't really played the Ravens, right? Our division foes. When he comes back and he plays the Steelers at home, I'll judge him after that. I will judge him at the end of the season when I get a full body of work and kind of be able to look and see what we got here. I think correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's 7-3 as a starter with the Browns. So, I mean, it's not like he's terrible in the start category. So, I don't know. I'll wait till the end of the year to see. I just want to see consistent improvement the rest of the year, right? That's what I want to see. I don't want to see this up, down with football games because that's what we all argued ad nauseum about Baker Mayfield, right? Like, Baker looked great today. Baker looked like crap today. Baker looked great today. And we did that. Well, it seemed like every week we're debating which Baker we're going to get today, right? So I think as we go through this season, I do want to see Deshaun just steadily improve and get better and get more confident, to your point, Allie, with his mechanics and make sure that gets right, as the season goes on. I do feel that it will. I just feel like today I saw something come different that he felt very confident throwing that deep pass, right? Even late in the game, which, by the way, we didn't even have to throw that deep one late in the game. We were well in control of that football game when he took that one and threw it to Amari deep. We didn't even have to do that play, to be honest with you, and we still chucked it downfield. So it'll be interesting to see how he improve. I think he will improve as the season goes on. He does have a competitive spirit in him, and I think he'll try to prove that he is the quarterback that he's supposed to be. And we're going to need him to be, right, Allie? At the end of the day, we're going to need him to be that quarterback if we're going to have a chance to make the playoffs this year, as we're squarely in that 6-5 seed spot right now as the season goes on. And we're at the halfway point, right? We're 5-3. We're 8 games into this season. This is kind of the midway point where we kind of grade the team. They're above average, right? They're the defense, clearly. They're out of the ballpark, right? They're still the number 1 ranked defense as before I came on this podcast. Number 2 is the Ravens, which will make for a very interesting matchup next week. So it'll be interesting to see. The defense, I think, will stay steady the rest of the year. And the offense just has to improve, right? At the end of the day, we need to see more from the offense and just more consistent play, because I think we've seen some very uneven play from the offense this year. So I just want to see that continue in the right direction, because if we're going to be a playoff team, it has to be, right? The defense will us to games, but we have to score enough points to be in those games, right? And I think we're going to have to score enough points next week against the Ravens if we're going to be able to do that. So I don't know what we're going to see from the Ravens game next week. It's going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, guys, if you are looking for a place to live, head on over to KND. It is your one-stop shop for housing in the region with apartments and amenities for everyone, including residential, commercial, retail, and also corporate housing. Find your dream home at KND. Visit KND.com to get started. That is the letter K, the word and, the letter D.com. Let's get into the stats from today's game, and this is brought to you by our good friends over at
From the Couch is brought to you by the Cleveland Furniture Company.
All right, let's get into it. So we talk about Deshaun Watson. He was 19 of 30 for 219, averaging 7.3, 2 touchdowns on the day. Now, some of which you could say was luck, had a pass deflected. Mari Cooper came down with it because of Mari Cooper. Played very good today. He was 5 for 139, 1 touchdown. His longest on the day was 59, and he was targeted 5 times. So five targets, 5 receptions, had a great day. Let's talk about David Njoku finally being able to see that connection between Deshaun Watson and David Njoku, which has been lacking up until this point. Force-fed him. They kind of force-fed him the ball here and there. Njoku, 4 receptions for 26 yards. I have to get off of ESPN because do you ever click on ESPN and an ad plays? I don't know if you guys could hear that, but all I could hear in my headphones was the Burger King Whopper commercial.
Hey, they're not a sponsor.
No, we don't. No free advertisements on this game, but they kind of force fed the ball to David Njoku, which I like to see, because honestly, Dustin, we haven't really seen that connection so far this season. Really, it's been Amari Cooper. He's been the heart and soul of this offense since Nick Chubb went down. But nice to see Njoku get some love there as well. I want to talk about the rushing game. You mentioned the three-headed monster in Pierre Strong, Jerome Ford, and Kareem Hunt. What did you see out of the running backs today?
Well, especially from Kareem is just a hard runner, right? We know this from watching him for several years now. But Kareem is just a hard runner, physical, wants the ball, wants to hit somebody. So kind of like a wrecking ball. And then Pierre Strong, what I saw from him was kind of more very more acrobatic, kind of out there finesse running. And then again, Ford, another hard runner. So it was just interesting to watch, depending on the play and the amount of yards they had to get. It seemed like Stefanski was actually calling a good game, like which running back he wanted in on that play based on what the situation was, right? And I knew for instance, I'll just get back to this play. And I just remember this from being in Seattle, and remind me, Ollie, who number 53 is, but they made him eligible as a fullback. It was 4th and 1, and the Browns went for it. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I was like, this is going to be a first down. Every time they make 53 eligible, it's a first down. And Kareem totally went in and got that first down. So I was like, this is great. I liked the play calling today, and I liked at times that Stefanski was a little vanilla with it. Like he didn't really need to shock the world, because I don't think he wants to show his whole bag of tricks before the Ravens game. Clearly, a division opponent, and I think he knew if he just played bully ball today. I don't know. I kind of felt like the Browns just played bully ball today. Like, hey, we're the better team. We have the better athletes, and we're just going to push you around today. And so I think we really didn't have to do anything crazy. And we did some plays here and there, some, passes to Mari and stuff like that. But I don't think we needed to really do anything crazy today, right? But I did like to see that Deshaun was definitely throwing the ball deep. Was it Elijah Moore that almost caught that ball way downfield? So there was a couple, but I mean, it was right in his hands. Like it was right literally in his hands. And so I think it was good to see some of that, to build some of that Deshaun Watson confidence going into the rest of the second half of the season. But I just think from the running back room today, I just thought it was a good mix. We had guys in there when we needed. We mixed the plays up, and it looked good. It looked good from every sense of the word. I liked how we mixed up and when we had him in there. And I like that we did mix it up, to be quite honest with you. I enjoyed seeing some different play and style from those guys.
Yeah, just to talk about Kevin Stefanski here, the best record by a head coach following a loss since 1970 is the following. You've got George Allen, who is 24-7, John Madden, who is 22-7-1, and now Kevin Stefanski, 18-7. So here's the thing with Kevin. I know he's taken a lot of criticism this season, and some of it justifiable. However, I thought that the play calling was great today. I think having a little bit of more of a simple offense is a good thing because when you're going up against an opponent like the Arizona Cardinals, you can play bully ball, Dustin. If as long as you're controlling the clock and dominating the line of the scrimmage, you essentially can just sit on them. Once you
Right.
get up, you can stay up. This is a team that you can do that again. So it's all about under Kevin. It has been all about stacking wins. That has been the issue. But following a loss, he always comes back ready to rock and roll. So you'd like to see that. But getting back to the stats, and hopefully I don't hear that ad once again in my ear because obviously I could not concentrate. That took me out. I almost had to just get off the air for a second. Jerome Ford, 20 carries for 44 yards. Kareem Hunt, 14-38, 1 touchdown. Deshaun Watson rushed it 3 times for 22 yards. His longest on the day was 13 yards, and then Pierre Strong 3 for 9 for his longest for 4. So I don't think it was necessarily a great day from a rushing standpoint. I wasn't incredibly impressed. I think that the passing attack was relatively inconsistent and poor, to be frank. But we talked about Amari Cooper. He was 5 for 139. He was kind of the hero of the day. Jerome Ford in the receiving game, 5 for 33. David Njoku, 26. Elijah Moore, 2 for 14. He had some big plays ready to go there as well. And then Cedric Tillman, he was targeted once, 1 for 3. So you're starting to see him get involved a little bit more, especially paying attention to him in the blocking game. He was there. But look, again, while this wasn't the prettiest offensive performance, you can still come away with it feeling pretty good because you win 27-0. You dominate the Arizona Cardinals, and you're going into a really tough scene next week against the Baltimore Ravens at their place, which is going to be a difficult.
Well,
but again, when you come away with a win like this, you can make those adjustments. You can go into it coming off of a win. It is much, much easier to make those adjustments before heading into Baltimore. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and if you look what happened to Seattle today, they couldn't get anything right today in Baltimore. And I thought that was going to be a much more competitive game, but it just seemed like they just didn't get it going today. And the Seahawks are a good football team.
They're a very good football team, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that, as the Baltimore Ravens are real. They're the real deal, and they're going to completely continue to. Yeah, unfortunately, they are the real deal. But I got to tell you, if the Browns go in there and play the kind of defense they can play, and we can keep it to a low-scoring game, I think the Browns have a chance. Next week is, but we're going to have to talk about, we'll probably get into this, but some of the injuries that happened in this football game for the Cleveland Browns. But the defense, I think, will be ready. It's a divisional game. They'll be hyped. They'll be ready to go in this football game. Maybe the Ravens will give us some bulletin board material this week, to inspire the defense a little bit. I don't know. Maybe we'll be like that. But no, I just think I really do think this defense, 8 games in, the man-to-man coverage, the discipline that Schwartz has in these guys, I got to tell you, like this defense reminds me of some of the Ravens teams that didn't have a great offense, and they just willed teams to wins. They just won games. I mean, let's be completely transparent. The Pittsburgh Steelers offense is putrid, and they're winning football games, right? They're winning football games. And it ain't because of their offense. It's because of their defense, right? And it was really interesting. I think it was Phil Simms today. No, Boomer Esiason, I think, was talking about.
Okay.
I found it very interesting. And he was talking about the AFC North. He goes, every single team in the AFC North has a great defense. He literally said they are stacked in the AFC North with great defenses. And he goes, if 3 of those teams make it out of into the playoffs, people are going to have their hands full with those teams in the playoffs. I thought that was a very interesting perspective because you can kind of neutralize your opponent in the postseason if you have really good defenses. And I just thought that was really interesting. And that's a guy that's played, right? He understands that. So I thought that was really interesting how he said, like, look out for the AFC North, man. Their defenses, they are something to be reckoned with.
Tough.
So I just thought that was interesting. And look at how the division is. It's all stacked. Again, stacked like a sandwich, for all the different. What is it? 5-3. I mean, there's and you got 2 losses, obviously, with the Ravens, but.
Yeah, it's stacked like a turkey club, maybe a BLT. But if you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you're doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, it is beloved from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard, rich in both taste and tradition. It is loved by millions, so be sure to head on over to stadiummustard.com to shop now. And while you're at it, if you're wondering what you should have for dinner, the answer for you is Angela's Pizza. So be sure to head on over to Lakewood to get your hands on the best pizza in all of Northeast Ohio. They do it right. They start out with a buttery crust, and they do double layer toppings. It's great in the restaurant, at home, and even just is great the following day. What do you say, Dustin? You want to get into some game balls here?
Yeah, but I do have a question, Allie. So I put a little contest out on our Twitter for some free Angelo's Pizza because everybody loves Angelo's Pizza. But guess what happened, Allie? I went through all the scores, and so I'm going to ask you how we have to. There were 2 people that guessed 27-3, which is pretty good. 27-3. That was, but they tied. So what do we do, Allie? What do we do in a tie when 2 people exactly tied for free pizza? I think we should just give them both a gift card. What do you think?
I think they're both winners. I think they're both winners. Yes.
Okay. So, guys, we'll announce that on our Twitter page. But yeah, 27-3. I thought that was pretty good. 2 people got that close to guessing the exact score.
Or maybe they can just go to dinner together and share a pizza. I think they'd love that. All right, let's get into it here. This game balls are brought to you by your friends over at Circle K.
Fans, get ready for a sizzling sensation that's about to heat up your taste buds. Circle K is bringing you a hot deal this football season. Introducing Circle K's Hot Chicken Wings. And the best part, the price is as hot as the wings themselves. Pick up 6 wings for just $5.99 at your local Circle K today. So what are you waiting for? Gather your friends, your family, and anyone else who craves the ultimate wing experience. Circle K, where every deal is hotter than ever before. Here we go, brownies. Only at Circle K.
All right, let's get into it here. Let's start out with defense. I thought they played incredible today. I mean, I read some of those stats to you here at the top, and I'm just going to go through those one more time because I think that they're that impressive. 7 sacks on the day, 10 tackles for loss, 8 pass deflections, 10 quarterback hits, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble. So I'll turn it over to you, Dustin. Who do you have for your defensive game ball?
So if I'm Jim Schwartz and it's a defensive game ball, I take 4 to 5 of those footballs and I go right down the defensive line. I hand out every one of them a defensive game ball because that unit as a whole was a wrecking machine today. From Tomlinson to Garrett, all of those guys, Smith, were all just a wrecking crew of causing just chaos all day long on Tune, and he had no. I mean, he was in trouble all day long. I mean, at one point he was running out of the back of the end zone into the dog pound. He had nowhere to run. So that was crazy to me. So I would give a defensive game ball to everybody on the defensive line today.
All right, I'll let you have it. I think we need to make sure that we give a whole game ball to somebody, especially in wins, because there's so many good things that come away.
Myles Garrett. I'll give it to.
Okay, all right, give it to somebody. Myles Garrett. I think that's one of them, right? Because I think that we could say that the entire defense gets a game ball, and in a sense, I think that they do because you come away with a win. But let's talk about who I'm going to give it to first. I'm going Dalvin Tomlinson. I mean, he had 2.5 sacks on the day, 2 tackles for loss, 4 total tackles on the day. He was an absolute nightmare in the interior of that defensive line. So I'm going to give him my game ball. But a couple honorable mentions. Shelby Harris, he had an absolute day. He had 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack on the day. Zadarius Smith with some good pressure. He led to the pressure that caused the Denzel Ward interception.
Yep.
I think that overall, this defensive line, as you mentioned, Dustin, was absolutely just making Clayton Tune not very confident back there behind his line of scrimmage. Myles Garrett on the day, he had a sack. He was great. Anthony Walker Jr., I thought, played very, very well. But it just speaks to the depth. And one player that really stood out to me for the first time so far as we go down this season is Jordan Elliott. I think he's been playing really well. And we've been critical of him on this podcast saying, we need to see more from him. We need to see more from him. And you bulk up this defensive line, and what are we doing? We're seeing more from him. So really having a good season, Jordan Elliott. So yeah, I agree. The entire defensive line could get a game ball, but to be specific here, I'm going to go Dalvin Tomlinson.
Yeah, and I would like to just point out Sione Takitaki today too.
Yep.
He had a great game, got that pick. He was kind of being just a wrecker in the middle of the field there. It just seemed like the defense just was poised, and they were just hyping themselves up. Like they were turning it up more and more as a game. Like if it was the volume on a television, they were just cranking it as the game went on, because I think they just knew that they were just going to keep this. But I mean, again, 50 some yards of total offense, that just blows me away, just in the sense, I mean, that's like nothing. That's like, it's just crazy to me that a team could do that in the modern day of the National Football League. I don't care who you're playing, to only give up 57 yards is astounding to me. So,
yep, agreed. All right, offensively, what you got?
I got to go with smooth route running Amari Cooper today, man.
Yeah.
Just looking good down the field, making some tough catches, just being in the right place at the right time today. I mean, for only having, what was it? You said 5 receptions, but like 130 some yards of offense is like, that's crazy to me. Like that's not very many. With the opportunities he had, he made the most of them.
Yeah, 5 targets, 5 receptions, 139 yards, 1 touchdown. His longest on the day was 59 yards. He is Mr. Reliable. He is your safety net. Good things happen when you get him involved. When we had Nick Chubb, we talked about how he was the heart and soul of this offense. Just give him the ball. Give him the ball. Now that we don't have him, you need somebody else to step up. And it has been Amari Cooper. When you target him, my goodness, he makes things happen. Not only does he make the elite plays, but he's so good at drawing pass interference calls or just penalties in general. So he's such a veteran. He's such a smooth route runner. You'd love to see what he's doing out there. So I agree, he deserves it the most. But for the sake of podcasting here, I'm going to go in a separate direction, and I am going to go with David Njoku. I thought he was more involved today. You really liked what you saw from him in the run game, blocking, and then, of course, pass catching. He was 4 for 26 and 1 touchdown. So 6 targets, 4 receptions, 26 yards, 1 touchdown. Good to see him getting involved. Good things happen when you are able to distribute the ball. Really nice to see that today. That's not something that we've really seen in the past, where you can just kind of distribute the ball, get the ball into the hands of your playmaker. But really good to see that offensively. And now special teams, obviously, I think we can both agree that we are going Dustin Hopkins here.
Yeah, Dustin Hopkins, I think he only missed 1 field goal today. Is that correct, in the entire game? So I think that's only 3 misses on the entire year. That's pretty damn good, right? And of course, we know he's had multiple kicks over 50. So yeah, I go Dustin Hopkins. But Allie, I wanted to get your take on this. I believe the guy is remind me of his name. The guy that was returning the kicks, a new addition to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, today. James Proche or Proche.
Proche the second. I was just curious. I thought he looked really good out there today. He looked confident. I was just wanting to get your opinion on him, because here's a guy that was with the Browns for just 4 or 5 days, and now he's out there on special teams that we picked up before the deadline. I'm just curious what your thoughts on him. I thought he looked pretty good back there.
Yep. I want to actually talk about special teams. So really good segue here. Before I get into that, I know we just gave a game ball to Dustin Hopkins, but I also want to just highlight Corey Bojorquez and how good he's been playing.
Yes.
To be able to pin teams back, the 1 yard line. He's been able to do that consistently this season, but just being able to flip the field does not go unnoticed. So shout out to Corey Bojorquez as well. But yeah, James Proche, I thought he was great. Absolutely had some life in the return game. 6 for 55 in the return game. That was really kind of a sight to see. His longest on the day was 17 yards. So really, we saw some life in that position. And unfortunately, we love Donovan Peoples-Jones, but we didn't see that from him for this season. Last year, yes. This season, we hadn't. So really enjoyed watching him today, but I do want to talk about this. I want to talk about the penalties that we're seeing on special teams, especially on returns. Almost every single special teams return, whether it's kick or punt return, there's some type of penalty, whether it's block in the back or something like that. I want to talk about that because there's certainly a huge lack of discipline.
Yeah, and I don't know. You, it just seems like that has been the case for the last few weeks. I've noticed that, but
Yeah.
it's not good, right? Because that just pins us
No.
deep, right? I mean, we get a penalty, especially if we have a good return and bring it out to the 35 or whatever, and then we get a penalty. Um, I think as a whole, the special teams unit's been playing well, but the penalties you got to clean up. I
Mhm.
put this in the same category as we've had 17 turnovers this year, right?
Yeah.
We started to clean that up today, right? We didn't see that happen today from the Cleveland Browns. So we were, looking good in that, in the turnover battle. We're starting to flip it the other way. Same thing with penalties. I think it's something we have to clean up. And again, like you said, when you have a good game like this, that's the great thing, Allie, about when you win a game decisively. Now you can pick it apart. Well, we could have done this better, right? Well, we have to clean up the penalties. You know, this guy could have been open more. Why aren't we doing this? So I think this is a week where Vrabel and those guys can get together and they can start to do. Um, it's more than 10 years.
Yeah.
It's true. But I think we need to just clean up the penalties, right? Like penalties drive me insane, and we'll get into this. Just on the offensive line, they drive me insane. They drive me insane when they're on special teams because it just kills a play or kills a drive sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's just my take on it. But that's your coaching staff that cleans that up and just gets the guys ready for the next game. And just
Yeah.
you got to clean that up.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's becoming a problem. And I mean, Jason, that's a good point that they really aren't used to anybody having to return it more than 10 yards. But when you do have a little bit of life back there, you have to rely on the other guys to just stick to their assignment, do what they need to do. But it has been a trend this season. So just something to keep an eye on. Hopefully, I'd be curious to listen to Bubba Ventrone talk about this. We're not in the locker room to ask those questions post game,
Right.
but I'm sure somebody will. Somebody will. Let's hope for either Cameron Justice or Mary Kay to ask that. Friends of the program. Dustin, real quick, why don't you tell our listeners about Cleveland whiskey?
Well, if you don't have Cleveland whiskey, you're doing it wrong. You need to get the Magic Rabbit, which is the peanut butter chocolate, which is delicious, or any of their other stuff. We have the Underground, which is great stuff, and then the Magic Rabbit, of course, is really good. But ask for it at your local drinking establishments, or find it at your local liquor stores in Ohio, or go to clevelandwhiskey.com to find it and ask for it if they don't have it in your local drinking establishment. Oh, by the
There
way,
we go.
also the Christmas whiskey ale is out now. The whiskey, not the ale, but the actual whiskey spice stuff is out, and they had their grand opening open house this last weekend, which was super cool. They invited a bunch of people out, and they were selling tickets to that. So I hope that went really well for them yesterday at Cleveland Whiskey. That was a lot of fun. They look like they were having down there.
Cool. Yeah, sounds like a good time. All right, let's talk about kind of the good, the bad, the ugly. We talked about the good, which is a win. We talked about the bad, which was, you got to clean some things up on offense. But unfortunately, the ugly, let's talk about some injuries. Jedrick Wills getting carted off. You hate to see that. And I don't think, unless I am mistaken, but I don't know that we have any update yet. I'm looking at literally as we speak. And then also Marquise Goodwin, he goes out, which looked like a concussion. So,
he was pretty woozy. He was
the best
pretty
for him.
woozy. Yeah, he was pretty woozy.
So as of right now, I don't think that we have any update on Jed, but card is out for Browns Jedrick Wills. According to Mary Kay, this was obviously in game, was obviously in considerable pain and was in an air cast. So thoughts and prayers go out to those guys.
Yeah.
But, and then DeJuan Jones did go down, but he was able to come back. But Dustin, we always say next man up, but, losing your left tackle would be fairly significant, especially on an offensive line that has struggled mightily. And so is Jet. I want to talk about, we've talked about his struggles on the offensive line, but this is a unit that has seemed to be getting better over the past few weeks. So that could absolutely be detrimental. But you do have James Hudson, who has a lot of experience to be able to come in and hopefully fill that role.
Yeah, and to your point, Jedrick Wills was being more consistent with his play the last few weeks. Obviously, we saw that. But again, I saw a holding penalty today from him, that put us in 1st and 20. I don't like that, right? And then if you look, we ended up being 4th and 5 and having to punt on that play. So again, penalties kick your ass and they kill drives. I don't like it. So again, if I'm the coaching staff of the Cleveland Browns and I'm looking at this win, yes, enjoy it, savor it. Victory Monday, Tuesday, let's clean up the mistakes. Let's clean up the holds. Let's clean up the penalties. Because when you get penalized, you not only help your opponent, but you also, to your own detriment, can hurt yourself on drives and just stall drives. And quite honestly, we're going to have to really clean that up against the Ravens next week, because I think the Ravens are going to play very disciplined football. And I think we're going to have to be very consistent on our side of the ball offensively and make plays happen and not put ourselves in a hole, because that's a team that you can't put yourself in a hole in on the road, period. You just can't. Because they will attack you, they'll exploit you, and they'll win the football game. So that's one thing you got to do, is clean those penalties up.
Real quick, guys, want to tell you about our friends over at Lorello Vineyards. Head on over to Geneva. You can get some of the best wine in all of Northeast Ohio. You can get the official Here We Go Brownies podcast wine. So head on over to lorellovineyards.com, because it is award winning. So be sure to head on over there. There you go. Dustin has it on the screen, and check that out. To answer a couple of questions here, Jason, did our defense jump offsides? Say yes. I believe it was Mo Hurst at one point did jump off sides, so that was obviously penalized. Let's go around the league, Dustin. How about the Houston Texans? Did you see that?
I did. They won, I believe, 39-37. Is that correct? I think they also had a guy go in and kick a field goal that was not a field goal kicker today.
That's correct.
So that was
he's a running back.
Yeah, right. I thought he was a running back that went out and kicked. So obviously he's got some skills from high school or some other collegiate level. He's kicked the ball around. I can tell you, if I did that, it would probably go wide right or flutter onto the ground. But no, it was really interesting. I think the Saints won today, right? They got a win against the Bears, close one.
Let's go through it. Chiefs come out on top in Germany over the Dolphins, 21-14. Vikings, Josh Dobbs stepping in after Jaron Hall goes down. Vikings beat the Falcons in Atlanta, 31-28. Bears, Saints come away with a win, 24-17. Packers over the Rams, 20-3. My goodness. And then Commanders beat the Patriots. Patriots are rough right now, 20-17. We'll go, obviously we know about the Ravens, 37-3 over Seattle. Texans, we know, 39-37 over the Buccaneers. And then currently, the Colts are up on the Panthers. The Raiders are absolutely killing the Giants, which is crazy to think. And then a delayed game in Philly, where the Eagles are currently up 21-17. Isn't it weird that whenever
who are the Phillies playing? Sorry, who are they up on?
The Eagles are playing the Cowboys.
Oh, they're up 21-17. Okay, that's
correct.
That's correct. That's a close game. That's a really close game.
Well, we've got a delay here, so. That's something. Weird day in the league. I mean, isn't it weird how that whenever you fire a head coach, that the next week that team always comes out so inspired? I mean, you've got the Raiders up 27-0 on the New York Giants. Now, Danny Dimes just went out. Looks like a pretty serious injury, non-contact injury. But nonetheless, the Raiders, who Aiden O'Connell is that who's playing? I mean, I'm not.
Yeah. That sounds right.
What in the world? Weird day in the league.
The only reason I know that quarterback exists is because I am playing in a fantasy football league with Allie, and I had to go pick up a quarterback because Kirk Cousins is gone from me now. So I was like, and everybody else in our league. So just so you know, we're in a 2-quarterback league. I'm like, well, crap, there ain't no other quarterbacks.
There's nobody out there.
I know, you know what I'm talking.
I picked up Taylor Heineke, and I got auto drafted because I was in Ireland, and I'm really trying to make the best of my team, and I'm struggling. I'm really struggling. But everybody, I had like 5 or 6 starters on the bye this week. So that was absolutely brutal. But I am still slated to win, but nonetheless. And Dustin, I think you're good because you have CJ. So he dropped like 5,000 points today.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So I was happy about that. Yeah. So I had CJ, and so just so you know, I went in and tried to go get that, but it was locked. I couldn't go in and get the guy for the Raiders. So I won today with starting an IR Kirk Cousins. So that should tell you how
that's
good
insane.
Yeah, that should tell you how good CJ Stroud played today. Well, and
That,
I have the Browns defense, and I have Amari Cooper. So there's some other reasons that I obviously won that fantasy
yeah.
football game. But no, it's been rough. I was just going to make a point of this. How about Josh Dobbs? I mean, I just want
How
to
about
point out.
Josh Dobbs?
I mean, the guy comes back and rallies, and Alexander Madison, the Boise
Yep.
State running back, came out today, played really well. But I got to tell you, I think Dobbs can take the Vikings to the playoffs. I'm sorry, but Josh Dobbs is smart. He's got legs. He makes smart decisions. He's a rocket scientist, literally. So yeah, I think the Vikings got something here, and they got some value in Josh Dobbs. I really do. I think they got lucky getting that trade from the Arizona Cardinals. I think it was a
Yeah.
great move for the Vikings. Their front office saw something in him, and they were right.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so you can't hate the guy. Like he's such a likable guy. He's such a good dude that just goes out and
Yeah,
wins every single week. I mean,
he was
it's
a he
so
was a
easy to buy
fan.
into him.
Yeah, he was a fan favorite in Cleveland. People liked him.
Yeah,
He hung out with the when he do like appearances, the fans are like, he's great, he's fun, he's just a nice guy. One of those guys you want to root for, even though he's
yeah,
not on your team. And you know what I would
absolutely.
say, and I would say the same thing about Donovan Peoples-Jones. I want
Yeah,
him to
for sure.
succeed in Detroit. He's one of those guys that just wasn't the right fit. The Browns drafted Tillman. Obviously, they wanted to move on and see what they had in their. Obviously, he was also going to be a free agent, so that's kind of a 50-50. You don't know if he's going to want to come back or ask for more money. So you got to get something for him, right? At the end of the day, or he walks. So
Mhm.
yeah, I wish the best for Donovan Peoples-Jones and see what he does over there in Detroit.
Why don't you tell our listeners, Dustin, about what's going on upcoming in March?
Well, Allie, it is cold in Boise, Idaho, and I am excited to go on the cruise March 11th. Guys, join us with over 17 alumni as we go to the Bahamas and is it the Bahamas? Yeah, the Bahamas, and I'm trying to think of the other island. It'll come to me. But so join us on this fan cruise. It'll be a lot of fun. Allie and I will host some things from the cruise and from actually the islands as well. But it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a great time. It'll be a good time to interact with all these Browns alumni, get to hear a lot of great stories, a lot of fun. And by the way, it's March 11th. Last time I checked in Cleveland, it's dreary and gray and cold and windy in March. So get on the cruise, come join us, and have a great time.
Yeah, couple things here, just some tweets that I just saw that are worth mentioning. CJ Stroud, rookie CJ Stroud, has more career touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett. That's one thing to note. Um, the second thing, just going back to Josh Dobbs. This is from Kevin Seifert at Seifert ESPN. Incredible stories from the Vikings locker room today. Josh Dobbs didn't take a single rep with the offense in practice. No snaps from Garrett Bradbury. Has never thrown passes to anyone and didn't know most of their full names. That's for
Yep.
next week, he said. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Right. Well, he's
That's
smart.
insane.
Allie, he's smart. I'm just telling you, someone like Josh Dobbs versus another quarterback, the way he can dissect a playbook when it's handed to him. I'm just
Mhm.
saying, a rocket scientist. I know this. I was around a lot of smart whiz kids in high school that were great at math. And I would look at something and be like, okay, that's going to take me a little while to figure out that math problem. And then those other kids would be like, done. Like they had it figured out like that quick. That's how I feel like Josh Dobbs' mind works. And he processes things at such a high level that
Yeah.
he's going to be able to compute things very quickly. And I saw that in the football game today, too, the decision making he was making. And when I watched some of those late decisions he made down near the goal line, I'm like, he's just smart. He doesn't make dumb
Yeah.
decisions with the football. So it'll be kind of fun and exciting to kind of root for the Vikings, from afar and see what they do this year. We'll see. I mean, I think that division is going to come down between Detroit and Minnesota at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's going to be those two guys fighting it out.
Let's get into some questions here from George. What will it take to get Marvin Harrison Jr.? Unfortunately, way too much. Browns don't have that capital to make that happen. Don't get me wrong, I would love it, but it's unfortunately, I don't think that in our actual reality would happen. Was Dobbs more impressive today than Mayfield's win with the Rams last year? What do you think on that?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Uh, Mayfield came into a situation where there was no pressure. Does that make sense? Where he comes into a Rams team that is just disheveled, right? They're not going to
Yeah.
win anything. They've only got a few wins. You insert Josh Dobbs to a team without a quarterback is a playoff team, right? They're fighting for a playoff path. I think there was a
Mhm.
lot more pressure on someone like Josh Dobbs. So yes, I think it is a more impressive thing because the amount of pressure that was put on him to win that football game, whereas
Yeah.
Baker's coming in to what? Just win a game. He doesn't even have to win it technically. He just have to go out there and play fundamental football. Josh Dobbs was brought in to win football games to get the Minnesota Vikings to the playoffs. So yes, I do think the Josh Dobbs thing is a more impressive win.
Yeah, I think it's also a little bit hard to say. You know, we've obviously got the recency bias with Josh Dobbs. What Baker did last year was impressive. To go into Los Angeles and do what he did in a very, very similar situation. But I think Dobbs is a little bit more impressive. One, because Baker Mayfield was a former number one overall pick.
Oh, that's a valid point too. Yeah.
He should be able to do those things. He should be able to. I mean, it's obviously very difficult, but I think because Josh Dobbs was not, he was a late round pick.
Yep.
I think
Good
that makes
point.
it all the more impressive. Nonetheless, we've got some good games to go watch. Dustin, any closing thoughts as we wrap up on a victory Sunday?
No, just everybody. We're gonna have a great show upcoming. Our big show on Wednesday, guys. A fan favorite, Jennifer Matthews, will be on our show with a bunch of great insight as she always brings. Talk a little bit of time with about her dad and some of the wonderful things that their family does in the National Football League and have done in the National Football Leagues. And then Gab, a lot of you guys know her from all of her in game at every Guardians game. She's usually there. Announcing all the things during the innings and stuff like that. And she's a part of the Big Play Network. She will be joining us as well. So, guys, a big jam-packed show coming this Wednesday. It'll be a lot of fun, a lot of information, and I think we'll have a good time.
Yeah, most definitely, guys. We'll see you there. If you are new and you're just joining us, be sure to check us out every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We've got a bigger show where we look ahead to the season. We've got some fun interviews, or not to the season, but to the next game. We've got some fun interviews coming your way, some fun segments, and of course our game picks. So be sure to check us out every Wednesday, and then either pre-game or post-game on Sunday, depending on the time of the kickoff. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, Browns fans, go Browns.